We're officially 8 weeks into the college basketball season, and we've had a lot of shakeup in the college hoops world. We've had some disappointments, some surprises. A lot of teams' stock have went way up, and a lot of teams' stock have went way down. In this video, we're going to talk about two teams whose stock is way up and two teams whose stock has plummeted. If you guys like this type of content, let me know. Subscribe if you haven't already, and without further ado, we'll hop straight into the video. Now, the first team I want to talk about, I wouldn't call them a surprise, but their stock is up. And I feel like it'd be a disservice not to talk about them, the Michigan Wolverines. Now, yes, there are a number of unbeaten teams still alive. There is not an unbeaten team quite like the Michigan Wolverines. They're blowing everyone out of the water. They're winning games by 50 points. They're scoring triple digits almost every game. They ran through the Players Era tournament. Yaxel Lendeborg looks like he could be the National Player of the Year. Elliot Cadeau looks like that floor general that UNC thought they were getting. Their bench is good. Like, they are deep. Obviously, you have Namari Burnett in his sixth year. Roddy Gale off the bench. Merez Johnson, Adai Mara, and Yaxel Lendeborg is one of the best, or not, if not the best front court in all of college basketball. And when they're going to get good play out of their guards and they're not going to turn the ball over, this team is probably unbeatable. They're plus 100 currently to make it to the Final Four. They're currently about plus 400 to win the whole thing. In December, that is insane. That is unprecedented. We don't see stuff like that every year. Even the world beaters of last year, like Duke and Auburn, it was still up in the air, especially in December. So this Michigan team, currently number 2 in the country, although they might be the best team in the country, they're sitting at 11-0. 5 of their last 6 games, they've scored either 101 or 102 points, which is crazy. I feel like it would be a disservice not to talk about the Michigan Wolverines as a team whose stock has went up, especially after their slow start to the season. Now, they were ranked high to start. We all know that. But they slipped a bit after, they had a scare against Wake Forest where they almost lost, a scare at TCU where they almost lost. After the TCU game, they have not looked back. Their biggest scare since then has been at Maryland, and they still won by like 18 points. So, Michigan, I'm very excited to see them in Big Ten play. I want to see, obviously they already played Rutgers in Big Ten play and Maryland in Big Ten play. They smoked both of them. I don't know. I don't think they're going to go undefeated, but it would not surprise me. And as we all know, that does not really happen in college basketball ever. So, yeah, first team stock up, the Michigan Wolverines. The first team we're going to talk about who has been very, very disappointing, and their stock is way down. I'm very concerned about them even making the tournament, the Auburn Tigers. Now, this might come as a surprise because I think the consensus right now is they will make the tournament. They'll be fine. They're still a good team. From the eye test, I don't think they are a good team. I think they have some good pieces. Obviously, Keyshawn Hall, Tahad Pettiford, Keyshawn Murphy. They're talented, but they just don't look good. And every team that they're playing that is, obviously they played Houston close. They lost by a point. But, Michigan, they lose by 30. Arizona, they lose by 30. Purdue, they lose by 30. It's like, that is, I'm not sure how how the committee will look at that come March, if it's like you lost those teams or if they're going to look at it as you got blown out by those teams, right? They're obviously going to have some work to do in SEC play. They're going to have to win the games they're supposed to win, like the games at home and then the games on the road against bad teams like, South Carolina, Ole Miss. But, yeah, this Auburn team, I'm not a fan of them. I said it back in the beginning of November that I don't think they're going to make the tournament. That was like one of my hot takes. And, yeah, they just don't. To me, they don't look the part. It looks like if they were to go to South Carolina and play on the road, I wouldn't be confident that they'd win that game. And South Carolina has not, they're at the bottom of the SEC. So Auburn is in my top 3 teams in all of college basketball of stock way down, considering they were top 20 to start the year. They had high expectations. Obviously, you lose Bruce Pearl. You lose pieces like Joni Broom. You lose Chad Baker-Mazara, Dylan Cardwell. You lost a lot of guys, but you're still Auburn. You retained some pieces after Bruce left. I know people were worried that a bunch of those guys would hit the transfer portal, and then a bunch of them came back. So Auburn, I am worried about. I will sound the alarm bells. I think their stock is way, way down. I'd say currently they'd have to be like an 8 or 9 seed. They're currently sitting at 8-4. And yeah, like they have a win over Oregon, which isn't a good win. We'll get into that. And they have a win against St. Johns, which, again, isn't a good win, and we'll get into that too. So Auburn, that's my first team where their stock is way down, and I guess some people could be surprised about it. I'm not surprised about it. Next team that we're going to talk about, their stock is way up. They have surprised me a lot from my preseason expectations for them, is the Arkansas Razorbacks. I recently watched them in person at Prudential Center. Yes, they lost to Houston. That is not a bad loss. There were some good things to take away from that game, considering they didn't get much from guys not named Darius Akoff, and they lost by 9 points. Granted, the final score was probably not as close as like the game actually was, but this Arkansas team, their losses are to Houston, Michigan State, and Duke. Like, come March, that will help their resume greatly, and I think they can play their way into a top 3 seed, right? I don't know if they're going to be able to get to like the 2 line, but if you can get to a 3 seed, Calipari will be thrilled. I think they're going to be probably a 4, but, Duke played tight. They lost, but they played them tight. They were in that game late in the second half. You beat Louisville. That's a great win. That's at home. Still a great win. Louisville's, they're good. They're good. They need Mikel Brown Jr. back. I would have loved to see him play against Tennessee, but, Louisville is very, very good. They'll be at the top of the ACC. You beat Texas Tech, neutral game in Dallas. Look, like, that's a great win. The shot making in that game was incredible. Darius Akoff is, right now, he's my point guard 2 in the draft. I don't think he'll go that high because of his size. My point guard 1 is Fleming, so that Fleming versus Akoff matchup the other day was great. But Darius Akoff is so, so good. He has surprised me so much, along with this whole Arkansas team. Malik Thomas is in a slump right now, but I think he'll snap out of it. He'll be a big piece for them in conference play. Malik Ewan has looked great off the bench for their front court, and obviously Trayvon Brazile is having his best season of his collegiate career thus far. So Arkansas, I'm very excited to watch them in SEC play. I think they are a real threat to win the SEC. If I had to pick 3 teams right now to win the SEC, I'm going to go 4 because I have 4 teams. Florida, Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. I think any of them can win it. I think Kentucky could sneak in there, but I'm not even going to sniff doing that because they've been so, so bad. Arkansas is legit. This doesn't, Calipari, he has this track record of these teams with a lot of freshmen that kind of peak at the right time and they're dangerous in March. This team, yes, they are led by freshman Darius Akoff, but they have, Nick Pringle is experienced, Trayvon Brazile, 2 guys that have played 5+ years in college. You have DJ Wagner, who's a junior starting. Like, they have experience. They have leadership. And then you have the star freshman of Darius Akoff and Malik Thomas. Carter Knox is in his second year. Billy Richmond. Like, this team is loaded. And I think they'll work out a few, they'll tweak a few things. They'll work out a few kinks. I think Billy Richmond might be moved into the starting lineup because he's just such a high-energy guy. And he's, like, just a great glue guy. He's so good to have out there. I think, like, they play so much better when he's on the court. So Arkansas, their stock is way up, in my opinion. I was expecting them to be around, the 7-8 line come March. Now I'm fully expecting them to be around the 3 or 4 line. Their stock is way up. They have surprised me a lot, and I'm very excited to see them in SEC play. The next team whose stock is way down, they've been a major disappointment after a resurgence year last year, the St.Johns Red Storm, led by Rick Pitino. Now, I think the easiest way to put this is this team is a mess. They are a hot, hot mess. The talent is undeniable. Like, you have Bryce Hopkins, you have Zuby Ejiofor. In the backcourt, like, Joe Sansano, Annie and Jackson, former 5-stars from the 2024 class. And they just, Dylan Mitchell was a 5-star as well. You just don't have a point guard. Like, it's that simple. They were trying Isaiah Sellers, tried Ian Jackson, tried Dylan Darling. None of it's working. They're currently 7-4, and they're, like, from a team that was ranked 5th to start the year, and now 8 weeks into the season, they're, like, not a lock to make the tournament. It's just crazy to me. And it's not going to – the schedule gets easier, but that's not a good thing for them because their quad 1 opportunities are running out, right? You're going to play UConn. That'll be tough. I think UConn's going to run through the Big East. But those games like at Villanova, you're going to have to win that game. The games at Creighton, at Butler, at Marquette, these teams that aren't like at Seton Hall. Like Seton Hall has looked good, but like Marquette this is a major down year for them. You need to win at Marquette. You need to win at Creighton, who again is having a down year. The whole Big East has just not looked good besides a couple teams. I was not high on them going into the year. I thought they were like. I was at the St. Johns Alabama game, and I told all my buddies, like, I promise you, Alabama's winning this game. This is not the St. Johns team from last year, right? Last year, their identity was defense. With Kadari Richmond, R.J. Lewis, Zuby, like they had guys. It's a different team. It is a whole different team. You bring back Zuby, but besides that, this is not last year's team, and it's not close to last year's team. Like they have a few nice, like I don't even know if I'd say nice wins. Like you have a win, like Ole Miss. It looked like a decent win at the time. That's not a good win. Ole Miss is not gonna make the tournament. They look terrible. Baylor, at least they won that game because Baylor looks like they'll compete in the Big 12 at least. But all their big, like you lose to Alabama, you lose to Iowa State, you even lose to Auburn, and then you lose to Kentucky last weekend. It's like you gotta win one or two of those games at least because the schedule is just not gonna be kind to them resume-wise. Like it's gonna be tough to rack up those big wins. Now, like let's say they're currently sitting on the 9 or 10 line or 8. It's like they're gonna cap out at like a 4, and that's if they lose like one more game the rest of the year or 2 more. No, that's a lie. Like 2 more games. It's just not like you just don't have a lot of good opportunities. Like they start Big East play with Georgetown, Providence, Butler, Creighton, Marquette, Villanova, Seton Hall, Xavier. Those will be quad 2, maybe a couple quad 1B games, and some quad 3 games. It's like that's not going to do much for your resume when these other teams that you're fighting against on the seed lines are going to be playing a lot of quad 1 and quad 2A games. Like that's just how it is. So St. John's, their stock is way down. I kind of grouped them and Auburn together in just like teams I'm not a fan of, and I don't know why they were like it's name brand on why they were so highly ranked to start the year, but not a fan of St. John's. Stock down, disappointment. I'm not surprised. A lot of people are probably surprised, but yeah, the jury's out on St. John's, and we will see what happens in Big East play.